I am Dr. B. Kanagalakshmi, Assistant Professor of English from V.V. Vaniya Perumal College for Women, Virudhunagar. First, let us see an introduction about Shaw. George Bernard Shaw, he is an Irish playwright, critic, polemicist and political activist. He wrote more than 60 plays and in 1925 he won the Nobel Prize in Literature. He was born in London and moved to Dublin in 1876. Between 1865 and 1871, Shaw attended more than 4 schools, all of which he hated. Here it reveals his early school life, which he hated, and later he wrote, "Schools and schoolmasters were prisons and turnkeys in which children are kept to prevent them disturbing and chaperoning their parents." It reveals his opinion about schools, which are like prisons. So, Shaw hated the conventional way of schools, which kept children as prisoners. He joined Fabian Society and became its most prominent pamphleteer. He was influenced by Henrik Ibsen. He sought to introduce a new realism into English drama, using his plays as vehicles to disseminate his political, social and religious ideas. In 1938, he provided the screenplay for a filmed version of Pygmalion, for which he received an Academy Award. He has been rated among British dramatists as second to Shakespeare. In an epistolary preface to Man and Superman, Shaw writes a letter to Arthur Bingham Walkley, his friend and a theatre critic for The Times, who had inspired the play by asking Shaw why he had never written a play based on Don Juan, the legendary fictional Spanish Lothario. Here, the man behind the creation of Man and Superman was Shaw's friend Arthur Bingham Walkley, who asked him why he didn't write anything related to Don Juan. The first performance of Man and Superman in 1905 at the Royal Court Theatre in London did not include the third act. No performance did until 1915, though subsequent productions have typically omitted the scene Don Juan in Hell. It is often performed as a separate play. As a whole, Man and Superman questions the nature of love and whether a married man can remain a revolutionary or if he will stagnate with domestic life. Here we have got a key to Man and Superman. That is, whether after marriage, what is the condition of a man? He will be a revolutionary or he will become stagnant with his domestic life. That is what we are going to see in Man and Superman. Now let us go into the characters in Shaw's Man and Superman. Roebuck Ramsden, an old friend of Anne's father and guardian of Whitefield's daughters. And then we have Octavius Robinson. He is in love with Anne Whitefield for years and he is also the brother of Violet Robinson. And next we have John or Jack Tanner. John is the modern representation of Don Juan. The name John Tanner is an anglicization of the Spanish name Juan Tenorio, which is the full name of Don Juan. He is an attractive young man and Anne's co-guardian, and he is also the author of Revolutionist Handbook. Annie and Rhoda, who are the daughters of Whitefield. And then we have Violet Robinson, sister of Octavius, married to Hector Malon Jr. Next we have Hector Malon Sr., an elderly gentleman who has worked hard throughout his life to attain a high social status, and he is an American billionaire and father-in-law of Violet. Next we have Susan Ramsden, also called Miss Ramsden, Roebuck's spinster sister. And next we have Mendoza, witty, intelligent and a hopeless romantic with a crush on Luza. Man and Superman engages with the ideas of philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, making it somewhat heavier than a standard romantic comedy. In particular, the play is concerned with the concept of the Übermensch, here translated as supermen. The Übermensch, according to Nietzsche, is an ideal future person or future state of humanity. George Bernard Shaw's interpretation of the Übermensch incorporates a new concept called the life force, which can be thought of either as an instinct prompting people to reproduce in order to create a Superman, or as an abstract manifestation of the Superman's characteristics. Here we are given the idea that Shaw's Man and Superman, it is based on the concept of Friedrich Nietzsche's Übermensch. Next, let us go into the drama. Let us see Act 1. In Act 1, we are introduced to the main characters. First, Roebuck Ramsden is on stage, and then Octavius Robinson appears in the mourning dress to mourn the death of Whitefield. The drama begins with the death of Whitefield, and Robinson comes to mourn the death of Whitefield. And Ramsden is confident that he will be the one who will serve as guardian of Whitefield's daughters, Anne and Rhoda. And he expresses his hope that Anne and Octavius will marry. Roebuck Ramsden is very confident that he will be the guardian, and he also assures Octavius that he will allow, as a guardian, he will allow him to marry Anne. And he wants Octavius can think of nothing which would make him happier. Octavius is, as he is in love with Anne, he feels very happy when Roebuck Ramsden himself says that he will allow him to marry Anne. And then he warns the young poet against the latest friend, John Tanner. And at the same time, Ramsden warns him that the competitor for him in love will be his friend, John Tanner. He also prides himself on being an advanced thinker and a liberal, but regards Tanner as an immoral person. Here we come to know about the character of Ramsden, who is very proud that he is able to predict what is going to happen in future. So he is giving a warning to Octavius, and at the same time he considers Tanner as an immoral person. And then Jack Tanner comes. He is an attractive and superior young man, and he informs Ramsden that both he and the latter have been appointed by Whitefield's will to act as Anne's guardians. So first we met Ramsden, who thought that he will be the only guardian, but when Jack Tanner comes, he informs him that Whitefield has appointed two guardians for Anne. That is, one is Ramsden, and then the other one is John Tanner. For Tanner, Ramsden is hopelessly old-fashioned. So before that only we have seen that Ramsden considers here Tanner as an immoral person, and here Tanner, he says that Ramsden is hopelessly old-fashioned. So the two guardians of Anne, both are having opposite views. Anne is anything but weak, dutiful young woman. He sees her as willful and hypocritical and declares that she will commit every crime a respectable woman can. Here we see the comment given by Tanner. According to Tanner, here Anne, she is a very weak and dutiful young woman. She always obeys whatever her father says, and so he calls her as a dutiful young woman, and at the same time she is willful and hypocritical. He says that Anne is ready to commit every crime a respectable woman can. And next we see Octavius is appalled at Tanner's unflattering description of Anne, to whom she is a goddess, nor can anything that Tanner says convince him that she is not divine. For the name Octavius, she is the reality of romance. As Octavius is in love with Anne, he is not able to accept the views of Tanner about Anne, and according to Octavius, Anne is like a goddess to him as he is in love with her. Now, Anne makes her appearance, and Shaw describes her as perfectly ladylike, graceful, comely, with ensnaring eyes and hair. So here, Anne is described as a very beautiful woman, not only comely, graceful, but also ensnaring, which is having the capturing eyes and hair. What sets her apart from other beautiful women is her abundant vitality. Here, each and every woman, I think we are able to see many women having ensnaring eyes or beautiful appearance, comely look like that. But what sets her apart from other beautiful women is her abundant vitality, her willpower. With her is Mrs. Whitefield, her mother, a woman devoid of such vitality, one who wears an expression of muddled shrewdness. Here we see the two opposite characteristic features. Anne, who is very vital or willful in her character, and her mother, she is only muddled. She is called as having muddled shrewdness. Okay, and Anne listens to Ramsden, who tells her that Tanner and he have been named as joint guardians and trustees of the late Mr. Whitefield's two daughters, and Anne announces that she will obey her father's judgment and have both men as her guardians. And now Ramsden, he is informing Anne that her father has appointed two guardians for her. That is, one is Ramsden and the other one is John Tanner. And here Anne says that, okay, I am ready to accept, or I am ready to obey my father's words. And then Ramsden objects on the basis that had Annie's father read Tanner's book, he might not have considered him a fit guardian. Here we see the two guardians, Ramsden and Tanner. They are not having a smooth relationship, and Ramsden is objecting to having appointed Tanner having appointed as guardian for Anne, because he says that Tanner has written a book and he is the author of the Revolutionist Handbook, and he feels that if Anne's father has read that book, he would not have appointed Tanner as her guardian, like that he says. And Anne also wants to read that book, but Ramsden says that no, you should not read books like this. It is a Revolutionist Handbook, like that he says. Anne calls Ramsden as Granny, which is short for grandfather, and Tanner as Don Juan. Mrs. Whitefield reminds her daughter that they are in a period of mourning, and she and her mother leave accompanied by Ramsden. Here we come to see the character of Anne. Anne is calling all of them by names, and he calls Ramsden as Granny, and then she calls Tanner as Don Juan. Okay, I think the story behind which, or which is the basic for this man and Superman. So here the Don Juan in this drama is Tanner. So here she calls him as Don Juan. And then Mrs. Whitefield reminds her that they are in a period of mourning, so she asks her daughter to be quiet. And then here Anne and her mother, they leave accompanied by Ramsden. Tanner and Octavius are left together. Tanner begins to lecture his friend about the dangers of womankind. He explains that women only want to use men and keep them from achieving their potential. Now on stage we have only Octavius and Tanner. Octavius, he is in a very romantic mood, and he is in love with Anne. But here Tanner is not like that, and he is also not interested in Anne now. So he is warning, or he is telling Octavius that women are very dangerous, and he is advising him that women only want to use men. They are only using men and they keep them from achieving their potential. So if you marry any woman, they will only prevent you from achieving your potential, like that he is saying. And at that time Ramsden and Anne enter and tell Octavius that his sister Violet is about to become an unmarried mother. So here Octavius' sister Violet, she has become an unmarried mother, like that the news was informed by Ramsden. And then all are greatly shocked, but Tanner declares that the girl should be congratulated on the fulfillment of her highest purpose and the greatest function, to increase, multiply and replenish the earth. Here all the people on the stage, Anne, and then Ramsden, then Octavius, everyone is shocked, but here Tanner says that he is not at all shocked. He is simply congratulating Violet. I think she has done her duty only. There is nothing wrong in a girl or a woman becoming a mother, like that he says. Ramsden expresses in the conventional attitude, Violet is the victim of a rascal, a libertine, a villain, worse than murderer. But Ramsden, he as an old man, he says that he calls the person who has made her a mother. So he is calling him as a rascal, a libertine, a villain, like that. And then Anne and Tanner are left together. Now all the people, Ramsden, Octavius, everyone leaves the stage, and now we have Anne and Turner left together. They have known each other since childhood, and that Jack had once declared his love for her. But the conversation turns to the attraction between Anne and Turner. Turner assures Anne that though he once loved her, remains attracted to her, he now is too grown up to love her, and in fact views her as dangerous. So now we come to know, the audience come to know that Anne and Tanner, they have been friends from childhood days, and once Tanner himself has proposed to Anne, but at that time she didn't accept, and now he says that he is not at all interested in Anne, and he also says that he believes moral passion to be the only real passion, no romance for him now. Tanner says, I never feel safe with you. There is devilish charm or no, a subtle interest. And then Ramsden and Octavius come back with Miss Ramsden. A hot-headed spinster says that Violet must leave the house at once since she apparently wished to meet her betrayer again. And now we meet another character, that is Miss Ramsden. She says that Violet must leave the house at once because she has become pregnant without marrying any a man, like that she says. And then at that time Violet enters, and she is quite self-possessed and obviously impertinent. And then when Tanner eloquently voices his approval of her, she is forced to reveal the fact that she has been secretly married and is not fallen woman at all. And now here when Tanner praises Violet that there is nothing wrong in your conduct at all, like that when he says Violet automatically reveals the truth that she is already married and she is not a fallen woman at all, like that. So this is what happens in Act 1, and we are also introduced to all the main characters and also the key element, and we will proceed with the other acts in the continuing videos. Thank you.